OTAs have already begun for the New Orleans Saints, and it didn't take long for Derek Carr to make an impression. Let's talk about why we think the Saints have found the leader they've been looking for on offense, and that could lead to big things this upcoming fall.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? It's Chris Fogu of the Straight Up Saints podcast, and this program is brought to you guys by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore, Scott McNair handles it all. You can give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. That's right, a free consultation. He will always fight for the win. Now, mentioned at the top, Derek Carr, Saints OTA beginning today. And I think OTAs is kind of a blend, right? Part of it is you get excited, as you should be. You're seeing Saints football again. You're seeing clips, and I know it's just stuff like 7-on-7s and guys are wide open and you're just throwing passes that look like something you've done with your buddies at the park. But in the day, it's still Saints football in some way, shape, or form. And I just want to consume all of that type of Saints football because that's the type of thing that gets me excited. That's what gets you guys excited. And that's why I'm here ranting. And that's why you guys are here listening. It's because we all love the New Orleans Saints. And at our core, we just want to see them. And even when they have a frustrating season like last year, you come back this year, as soon as OTAs begin, and you're eager to watch videos, you're eager to see photos because we love this team. So let's talk about why we could end up loving this team a lot this year. And it depends a lot on the quarterback. Derek Carr, number 4 in black and gold, first OTA practice for Derek. And I think, look, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it a lot this season, especially if it goes in the Saints direction that I think it can. And that's a positive direction that I'm hinting at. I like Derek Carr more than most people in the sense that I've accepted who Derek Carr is. He's not an elite quarterback, but I think he's a very good quarterback. And I think that teams will be lucky to have a Derek Carr because you can always do worse. Think of the teams that struggle in the NFL to find their quarterback. And even let's look like a team like the Jets, right? They just got Aaron Rodgers. That could end up being great for them. But they had a chance with Sam Darnold, didn't work out. They had a chance with Zach Wilson, didn't work out. You know, a lot of people assume, you can just draft a quarterback. If it doesn't work, go draft a quarterback. You get a young guy. That'll be the solution. It sounds great. It is definitely the best possible plan if it works out. When you get your Joe Burrows, you get your Patrick Mahomes, you get your Trevor Lawrences. That's the best plan, right? But how many quarterbacks do you whiff on before you get to that? Meanwhile, guys like Derek Carr sitting in a dysfunctional organization like the Raiders sit there and scrap and claw and try their best to try and make the organization be a contender. It just didn't work out the way it is. And now just thinking about what Derek's already done in New Orleans, for starters, you got to love that he's at OTAs. I'm not surprised. I expected him to be at OTAs. Dennis Allen hinted at him being there. So that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the fact that Derek Carr on day one with his new team is already being talked about like the leader you want him to be. When guys are saying Derek Carr speaks, we listen. That means something to me. When I hear that Derek Carr is controlling the offense, granted, these are limited drills, a lot of the communication is going through him rather than the center. I think that's when Pete Carmichael's offense is going to be at its best. When the quarterback is commanding the room, he's kind of that general. And by the way, for anyone who thinks this might be a slight at Jameis, it isn't at all. I just think this is something that Derek is better at in terms of controlling the offense. I think that's something that he has more control over. Whereas for Jameis in this situation this past season with the Saints, granted injury riddled for sure, it just didn't really materialize that way. Now, I'm still happy the Saints kept Jameis. I think it gives them a premium backup quarterback. He looks, nimble out there, not hurt now, finally got over the injuries. That's great to hear. But for Derek, you're hearing about the leadership. You're seeing nice, tight throws from him. Again, you're not going to watch these clips and be like, man, Derek's going to have an MVP season. Now, you could if you want. It's May. I think May is the time to be blindly optimistic. Because you know what? If you start being pessimistic now and the season ends up going poorly in September, October, November, you just played out 2 different losing seasons in 1 calendar year. Be optimistic now. If it doesn't happen in the fall, it doesn't happen. But I think for Derek, getting on the right track, showing brief accuracy, calling things out, commanding the offense, having that connection with guys like Foster Moreau, who's already back, and I'll talk about him in a separate video, getting on page with Juwan Johnson, that's going to be paramount because we've seen him have success with tight ends. And I think Juwan Johnson, we all talk about what he did last year, right? Taking that leap. I think he's got another leap in him that he can make. And if he's going to do that, he's got to get on the same page with Derek Carr. So overall, guys, I think for New Orleans, I look at the defense. I know Cam Jordan's a leader. I know Demario Davis is a leader. And I know Tyrann Mathieu is a leader. And I think the one thing I love about New Orleans' defense is there's a leader at every level of the defense. As I just mentioned, you got your guy on the D-line to keep everyone in check. You got your guy at linebacker to keep everyone in check, who keeps the whole team in check, if we're being honest with how good of a leader Demario is. And then you got Tyrann Mathieu and the Honey Badger, who, again, also at OTAs, year 11. Some guys in year 11 might not want to do OTAs. Tyrann Mathieu's here because he is a very good leader. So you got all those guys on that defensive side of the ball. Offensively speaking, I know Alvin's a phenomenal player. I know Michael Thomas is a phenomenal player. I know Chris Olave is a phenomenal player. But I still think the Saints are kind of missing that voice in the huddle that gets everyone together. And I think Derek can really be that guy. I really do. And I say this often. Everyone is so quick to just crap all over Derek Carr for what happened in 2022. And it was a bad year for him. Like, I'd be the first one to admit he did not play good football. But where were the people to talk about what Derek did the year before when he lost his head coach, when he lost his top wide receiver, and the Raiders with an interim coach without their top wide receiver scrapped and clawed their way to the playoffs? Does he not get any credit for that? It's just always a pick and choose type thing. So I think Derek's going to give the Saints the offensive leader and voice that they need for that unit. They got all the talent in the world. You need that steady voice. And I think he can be that. And I think he can guide that ship pretty well. Now, could that be the May optimism talking? Maybe. Or is it me just honestly just thinking Derek is the type of leader the Saints needed? I actually think it's that one, contrary to what people might believe. So we'll see how this all materializes. But first OTA practice for them, to hear and see what Derek's doing out there and for people to just rally around him immediately, I love that. And like I said, I love that he's already in the building from now. I think that's great news for the Saints, and I think this will pay dividends come the fall if the Saints continue this, right? What was one of the concerns last year? It felt like it took forever to get things going, get things ramped up in the offseason. Maybe they're a little, lackadaisical, and you don't really want that. There's a different attitude around the Saints this year. And again, I can't promise people anything. I can't say whether it's going to work. I just know that it feels different this year, and you hope that that ends up turning into more wins. But they got to play the games to see how that goes. But anyway, guys, I'm curious to know what you guys think about this whole Derek Carr era kind of getting ushered in finally this week. And look, this could be overreactions. It could be OTA optimism, whatever you may want to call it. Where's your excitement level at with Derek Carr? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, make sure to subscribe to Boo Crew Media's YouTube page so you get alerted for videos like this, and keep it plugged in here with the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat.